Hey guys, welcome to episode 86 of 4PlayerAnimecast. It is the 27th of January, already a month past the new year, and we are just, full throttle into the winter 2018 season. A lot of series to go through. Not all of them, masterpieces, of course, but definitely a lot to, kind of relish, enjoy, be like, I like this fan service, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Anyways, here with us, I'm Spire, your host. And here with me are my usual compatriots, Nier. How are you doing today?
Hey,
He's
I've
alive.
been playing Monster Hunter.
Yes, Monster Hunter World. Yes,
fuck
yes,
anime.
yes. Understandable. And then here's Dark.
Hey, I've also been playing Monster Hunter,
Yes, everybody's
but
been
I've
playing
also
Monster
been
Hunter.
watching anime.
Yes.
A lot of it, far too
Yes.
much of it, even.
I mean, it's not a bad season though, to be honest, right? Like,
No,
it's not,
that's what I mean. Like, there's a lot.
Yeah,
there is a
yeah.
lot to try
Like,
and get through.
Yeah, winter seasons are always like that, anyways. Good stuff. I mean, obviously, we'll talk about what you want to, cover in this podcast. And Toast, how have you been doing?
Hello, fellow hunters.
You haven't been playing, you fucking liar.
Yeah, how have you been doing, Toast?
Hello.
Hey,
hello,
pretty
hunters.
good. Yes, hello. Yes, I believe hello is a state of energy.
I don't like how the Ender armor looks like Raytheon armor, and Raytheon armor looks even worse.
Raytheon armor has always looked bad.
Anyways, everybody's doing pretty well. I've been, going on myself, a little bit busy, but managed to catch up with a lot of the decent stuff, or somewhat decent stuff over the past week or so. Anyways, let's start off quickly with Dark. Do you want to cover?
What?
Dark?
Cover? Or my week?
Yes.
Hello.
You're weak.
My week. Oh, well, I've pretty much just been keeping up with everything. And a few new things.
Yeah.
Huh?
Okay. Is there one you want to talk about? I mean, I always talk about getting to an actual series, but you want to? Yeah.
Well, yeah. So something I have been keeping up with has been Yuru Camp.
Yes, Yuru Camp.
So yeah,
it's who's doing it? It's C Station, apparently. C Station, not a very well known. They did a whole bunch of kind of small stuff like Akame Kill Gekijo or theater, Dragon Art Academy, a fan service series, Girlfriend Beta, stuff like that. But they haven't done like a lot of stuff. A lot of it has been in betweens. But yeah. Anyways, go on.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a strong one for sure, as like one of the major ones they're doing now, or pretty much like one of kind of not the first ones, but yeah, just kind of like their first really star. Well, not star, like standout of the season. Because it's making its rounds.
One of the series that you would actually want to watch.
Yeah, pretty much. Like I'm looking, like you look at all the other stuff, it's like, what the fuck? Come on, we got 5s on this mall list. That's not very good. So yeah, I guess to start, the series premise is that it's about girls camping, and the main, well, not the main, but the first one we're introduced to in particular likes to camp solo.
Yeah, and then she gets so used to, as the cast kind of comes along, right?
Yeah, which we'll get into, because there's actually a really good way they sort of add in the cast members, which is nice. So there's, even though a lot of the art well, not a lot of the art, but some art shows only 4. There are 5 members, including the girl with the dog. But some art doesn't show that for some reason. But the sort of main idea is that, at least in the first 4 episodes, it's kind of like the cast is getting added in, and so just the blue-haired one is still.
Nice, because it's like a lot of times what happens is like the difference between, like, for instance, like Slow Storm had the cast kind of all come in, and the Yuru Camp has it coming in one by one, right? So it's like the difference in that is like Slow Start is more just about the here and now, like, oh, let's get it together and then let's make the group's interaction sort of the focal point of the story and how they interact with the main character and like immediate sort of thing, right? As opposed to sort of Yuru Camp's way of adding a one by one, where sort of the previous episodes become a quote unquote history of the series. Like it becomes like a background to the series that you were already watching, because it was like, oh, this happened before, but now we're adding those interactions to this new guy coming in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I guess it's also kind of different because Slow Start isn't set up in the same way, where this is sort of split between character interactions and then some slight trivia. Which I really like about it, and I guess we can kind of like start on this, where the character interactions I think are really good, and
Oh yeah, for sure.
there's a lot of like their characters are very different, which is nice. So like Rin, the one here on the far right with the blue hair, is like really more like quiet solo, but doesn't really want to hang around others. And then the other characters, kind of complement that in some way and complement off of each other. And it's kind of clear on how she's going to fit into like the group itself. So what I do like though is that on top of sort of like the bit more basic character interactions you have, you also get the additional benefit of having the trivia, the like camping trivia.
Yeah. I also do like it because they do pay a little bit more attention to the trivia, and it's done again in a much more show don't tell way than than a lot of people. From what I feel, it's like how some like trivia series literally like be like will say like, oh, what is airsoft, and then they start like explaining it like one by one. Like they don't do that as much in this.
Well, what is it?
What is camping, really, when you get down to it?
Life.
What are the steps we take for camping?
You guys hear about that one dude in like Mexico who went camping due to Yuru Camp and started a forest fire?
No.
Yeah. Yep.
Is that real?
Apparently.
God damn it.
Good job, 4chan.
There goes that.
Anyways, keep going.
Anyway, they say all about fire safety, man. You're not supposed to just, set up fires willy-nilly. Just clear the ground.
Yeah, well,
should have fucking watched maybe a little bit, couple more minutes then.
Anime watchers aren't exactly the smartest people, let's be honest.
Well, apparently he didn't pay too much fucking attention to the episode. But he wouldn't have started a fire. He would have known.
Yeah, but otakus are always geniuses in anime series here.
Yeah, dude.
It reflects real life.
Just like
real life.
Just like my favorite isekai, dude.
Anyways, go on, Dark.
So yeah, the cool thing, I would say the cool thing about the trivia is that it's also further like split between both the characters and a narrator who it's kind of hard to sort of explain. Like the narrator's like a disembodied voice, obviously, but references, but isn't what do you want to call it? Like omnipotent.
It's sort of like a Bakuto test narrator in a way. That's the closest thing I can think about it.
Yeah, so it's like the narrator doesn't really know what the characters are gonna do. So certain times, like if they're setting up a tent, the way that trivia works is like the narrator will narrate setting up the tent and the steps and like the process that they're taking, so that you know what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Right.
But if something unexpected happens, like the narrator reacts to that.
Or ask a question or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I thought that was like a really cool way to use the narrator. Obviously not, not the first time this has been done, not groundbreaking, but overall like a pretty good way for them to do it anyway. And then, then you have like the basic sort of like trivia where the character is actually doing it and then commenting on what they're doing and why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Usually to like, the other characters, mainly Nadeshiko.
Yeah, and again, I do also like that they don't like sort of do this very like wide brush, like concept by concept, lesson by lesson kind of thing. They're just kind of doing camping stuff, and then like the small things are explained on the side, and life goes on. And it's not like, what are we gonna do today? We're gonna make a fire, like you know what I mean? Like, it's not really like that, which I do appreciate. Not
Yeah,
treating people like they're fucking retards.
it seems like the way it's set up is where it's like they're going to go through multiple processes during the episode anyway. Like they're gonna accomplish more, and then each time they might cover something different. So it's like even in the first episode, Rin is like camping alongside the lake, like alongside a lake in front of Mount Fuji. So she has like a fire set up. She has her tent set up. She has things set up to heat water for like instant ramen and stuff like that, and like warmers and everything. But the only thing covered in that episode is setting up the fire. And then and then it's like she goes camping again, and then the thing that is done in that episode is setting up a tent with like the other characters. So the bouncing back and forth between like both the group and her, along with sort of like the different types of trivia covered each episode, is really nice. And there's a lot of they manage to tie in like sort of smaller things that can be pretty much considered trivia too, pretty naturally, with like when they're looking online to try and find different sleeping bags for the winter. So like those are kind of like implemented pretty naturally. It's not like they stop everything and are like, oh, this is what the difference between like a summer and a winter sleeping bag. Like they explain that, but they explain it while they're shopping for those types of things. So yeah, I think the trivia itself is pretty effective in that sense, and pretty effective at being like entertaining at the same time.
Yeah, I just have one thing I would like to point out where it's just like, I do really like it. Again, it's like it's my type of show, but beyond just that, I think it sets up a nice pace. I think, or for the most part, I think it sets up a nice, atmosphere, and the trivia it handles pretty well. The character interactions it obviously handles very well. It shows a nice premise. It kind of worked on, the theme that was covered by Yamano Susume, right? Which was like mountain climbing essentially, sort of, except it was kind of going around and doing similar things to what Yuru Camp is doing now, and then kind of improving upon it. But what just one thing I would like to point out, and that's not necessarily like positive, but I would like to kind of see an improvement. It might even just be an anime thing, but a lot of times what I expect from these sort of like quieter, like slow paced series is like a very sort of like at least moments of dramatic pausing or dramatic sort of slowness, where it's like, you know how it's like Non Non Biori or like a lot of these slower pace series have at least like one or two moments where it's just like the scenery, or it's just like a very like quiet moment of silence where it's like you kind of breathe and take it in, right?
I mean, some of the best moments of Non-Non-Biori?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a major part of why it's called, a slow paced series, right? Because it has stuff like that. So what I would like is that it invites these slower paced moments, but a lot of the times, I think the series sometimes has kind of trouble with how shall I say, preserving those moments. You know what I mean? Where it's like this like slow moment is coming up. Like the girl is just like, she made the artificial fire, or she made like the soup, and she's kind of like, she's kind of like drinking the soup, kind of staring out, kind of having a quiet moment. And then the phone rings, and then something else happens, and then after she finishes the conversation, she puts it back down. She's looking out, and then the girl flies by. So it's like I think sometimes I understand why these things go on, but I think sometimes they need to kind of have they need to make space for these quiet moments. They can't all be like interrupted by something. You know what I mean? I think it would be nice if they did have more of those sort of flat moments.
Yeah. My question for you
Mhm.
would be, have you entirely caught up? Well, not even have you entirely caught up. How many episodes have you seen?
I've seen 2 episodes.
Okay, because I can't remember if it was in episode 2 or 3, but during one of the
I mean, at the very end, like for instance, like there's like the moon one at the very end of, for instance, like episode 1, right, where it's like,
yeah,
you know, it has
because
that
I get
where
what
it's
you
like it's
mean with
supposed to be the
the interruption for sure.
conclusion. Yeah, but I feel like there needs to be a like maybe 1 or 2 more of those to, or at least okay. So what I want is at least make it not feel like I'm just getting interrupted from these quiet moments all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I think in episode 2, I'm not sure if it's 2 or 3 if you remember it, but the sort of like the lulled moment where it's like the
Mhm.
super wide like panned out shot of like the field that Rin is camping in, and you can actually see like the grass roll with the wind.
Right.
And then I think then during that she gets a text message, but I think that quiet moment actually, like the text message itself, kind of complements it because the way it's being done is the voiceover. I know they do it in episode 1, but I feel like it might be a little bit better in 2, the way they do it. And then they kind of do similar stuff every now and then. But I think the major thing is that they have, like, I think this series does it pretty effectively, primarily because of what it has to show for it. And we brought up Non Non Biuri as
Mhm.
well. And I think what these two have in common and why they can do sort of these lulled moments a little bit more effectively than others is probably gets into a little bit more of maybe audio visuals, because I feel like the soundtrack for this is pretty strong. It doesn't have much, but
Mhm.
it definitely works with what it has. But the visuals themselves, I think the backgrounds in this show are really, really, really good looking with how they're like painted in a way. That style, it's not really a lot of what do you want to say, like hard colors. Like a lot of it is looks very painted. So I think that is kind of like a
Yeah.
stronger reason for it to have those lulled moments. But I don't think it's really interrupted too much. You know?
I mean, I don't think it's interrupted too much. What I'm saying is that I would like it if there were some more moments where I'm just like, oh, this quiet moment's about to come up, and it kind of ends up resolving like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
That's just all. I don't think it's a matter of being interrupted too much. That's not this this series is mostly fun as is. I'm just there are just some moments that were just like, oh, okay, there's another phone call or something. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
I
Yeah.
think we're gonna get more as we go on, and maybe even as we get more cast members, as strange as that sounds, because there's gonna be less like detachment between the groups. Um, so yeah, because even in episode 3, there's one that, if I'm remembering correctly, is very like it begins and ends as a quiet moment. So I think as time goes on, we're gonna see more of them for sure.
Right. Okay. Anyways, thank you for again helping us review Yuru Camp. I know it's definitely one of those shows of the season that a decent amount of people were looking forward to. But anyways, any last words?
Yeah, give it a watch.
Yeah,
It's got
do
a
it.
really fun I guess one last thing that's really worth noting, which I completely forgot to mention with the audio visuals, is that it does have a very fun sort of transition between its regular like art style and the more like cartoony, well, not cartoony, but the more
Chibi.
like, yeah, the more like chibi, like comedic style that it has.
Yeah, that
And
is very true.
you'll probably see a lot of screenshots of it, especially with Chiaki, the girl with glasses, when her glasses are like full white, and it's like a really less like detailed facial expression and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay. Again, thank you so much for helping review Yuru Camp. And again, I definitely agree with Dark. If you want sort of a quiet series, or I mean, even if you just want like an okay sort of like series, selling what it does in its package quite well, do check Yuru Camp out. And next, I'm just gonna do a quick thing of because it's better to cover the series quickly than not. Ryuuou no Oshigoto, or I believe in English it's called The Ryuu's Job Is Never Done, or some really fucking stupid title. Yeah, it's like the Ryuu's work is never done. So in Japanese translated, literally it means the Ryuu's work. So the basic premise is essentially about a teenage guy who happens to be a shogi master. I believe his name is Ryo or something like that. Or no, it's Yaichi Kuzuryu. So the last part is Ryu, obviously, harkening back to the title. But and then one day, a lolly or a 9-year-old girl turns up at his house, requesting to be taken as his disciple. From there, all kinds of wacky hijinks ensue. And as you might be able to guess from, if you've read enough light novels or manga, it's fan service. I don't know what else to say. It's fan service. Done by Project Number 9, 12 episodes. They've helped with other, a lot of fan service. Yeah, if you just go down their list, it's pretty much all fan service.
I just clicked on this. This is the most degenerate list I've ever seen.
It really is. So when Nier says this stuff, you might be like, well, Nier, he usually doesn't like this rom-com stuff. He might be a bit biased. Well, I agree with him. I'm looking at this list and I'm just like, yeah, this is not a good list. They did Netage, which is pretty much straight off. 最近妹の様子がちょっとおかしいんだが which is the one with where the little sister has to wear like the chastity belt or whatever. It was really fucked up.
I watched
it. Yeah, no, she has to. It is like a requirement. So that one was really fucked up. There's like the visual novel making one. They helped out with Rokubu. I think they headed Tenshi no Sanpi.
Oh
Yeah.
fuck! Wait. But that was good though.
It's still degenerate.
And then they also did. They also helped with Kenka Bancho Ultimate Girl Beats Boys, the one where I think you guys remember the opening from that, right? Where it changes the colors or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a very interesting lineup for sure. But anyways, I don't know. It's kind of weird because it's like the artwork for the eyes, like the lips and stuff like that look pretty standard. Like you would see it from like A1 or maybe from like Satellite or something like that. You know what I mean? Like the glossy lips and shit like that. Standard artwork, slightly improved from the Netuge days and stuff like that. But the eyes kind of remind me of Prisma and Ilya for some reason. I'm not sure why, but yeah.
Is it because they're both lollies?
Yeah.
Clearly. That's pretty much how all
Fucking
kids actually
racist,
look the
dude.
same. Yeah, all kids just look the same, dude.
You can't
But,
call him that, Spy.
Anyways, what is it?
We will get shut down.
Yeah, it's just the lolly comes in and she's like yandere for some reason, fan service moments, and she does the fan service. And then there's a white-haired girl who's also fan service, and then they do shogi stuff, but it's not really shogi stuff. It's like sake style, but it's not entirely as exciting as sake because they kind of quote unquote play with the shogi thing. Or what I mean by that is they don't really take the shogi part of the series seriously. They're just like, yeah, the shogi, like Yu-Gi-Oh style fucking dual disc shogi shenanigans is kind of happening, and then it kind of cuts back and it's like, oh, by the way, the reason why I'm playing shogi at all is because of this character development. Except the character development isn't very good. It's the standard whatever stuff, right? The standard garbage stuff. That's like volume by volume, right?
Isn't the real reason he plays shogi to see lollies smile?
Yes, it's for her ega. But yeah, other than that, there's really not much to say. It's just for fan service. The fan service is packaged quite well, though. It's not as quite as spastic as Oni-Eye. But then again, very few series are as spastic as Oni-Eye and still delivers well in fan service. But in terms of the fan, yeah,
I was gonna say, and now this is not a meme question,
yeah.
but in comparison to Tenchi no Sanpi, how does this
There's
how
only,
how
like,
is that
one
delivered
lolly,
compared to
dude.
that? What?
There's only like one lolly, so if you're talking about like
What do you mean?
lolly
There's
count,
like fucking 5 on my screen right now with the
Yeah, I
art I
see
put
like
up.
3 of them
aren't they
in
all
the
like?
PV.
Aren't like the main girls all like his like age or whatever, like near his age?
I mean,
Not in the art that I have up.
so there's the main lolly, right?
Yeah, the main lolly.
The white hair girl seems to be around his age.
Yeah,
I
the
guess.
tsundere girl, the Ojo-sama / like tsundere girl, I
And
think
then,
might be a lolly.
And
But then
then
there's the
in
other
the PV, I see a girl with glasses. She's
Yeah.
definitely a lolly.
yeah.
Blonde girl. She's absolutely a lolly. And brown-haired girl with, I guess, brown eyes with a red jacket. She's definitely
Yeah,
a
that one.
lolly.
Yeah, that one. I
And
mean,
there's the
it's.
black-haired
I
one.
mean, I think right now, like they're just kind of focusing on the main girl. So I'm just like, whatever.
The main girl always wins, baby.
What I kind of meant is like pacing wise, is it pretty similar to Tenchi no Sanpi, like where how it splits the fan service with the moments, where it's like they'll be doing something like kind of serious and
It's
then
a little bit less back and forth than Tenshi no Sanpi, because Tenshi no Sanpi was a little bit more out of the. I mean, Tenshi no Sanpi was sort of the deviance, right? Where it's like it kind of went back and forth between character development and lolly fan service a little bit more back and forth. But this one is pretty standard in terms of kind of having like let's say 3/4 of the thing being development and then 1/4 of it being fan service, like in the middle or something like that, or like having the beginning and ending parts, or the beginning and like beginning of the first half part or beginning of the second half parts be fan service, then the rest is like some bullshit like character development or setting up for the arc or whatever. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So it's a little bit more standard in that fashion. However, the amount of fan service it does carry, I think it's like it's shaping up to be pretty big amount. It's not like Oniai amount, but it's like maybe like no kome, like the one where it's like the dude has to make like the choices and shit like that. It's sort of like those levels, but not as crazy, I think ish. I mean, crazy is sort of what you define it. If you think just like girls, like just lucky skebe kind of thing. If you think that's like crazy, then maybe it is, but that's pretty vanilla at this point, right? And in the otaku culture. So if you consider that vanilla, it's pretty like straightforward.
How old is she again?
She's 9 years old.
You're
Perfect
disgusting.
age. It's a perfect age, I would say. Clearly. That's how Japan likes it, right? Excel World with all middle schoolers. I still can't believe that, actually.
Is she a vampire?
Vampire, that's true. Like the moment I found out Excel World was like all middle schoolers, I was like, what?
Wait a minute.
Because you've seen Kuroyuki Hime, like the main girl's like outfits and shit, like in movies.
Yes,
You've seen
I
that.
have.
She's a middle schooler.
I don't want to talk about Excel World right now.
But yeah, it's again the fan service itself. The things it sells, like the package it sells. Let's just say that. Whether you like it or not, I can say that it sells.
Spire's Anime of the Year 2018.
Fuck you. But yeah, other than that, I don't really got much to say. Watch it if you are into that kind of stuff. I'll watch it because I'm a fucking degenerate. But also because I like harem. But yeah, there's not much else to say about it. But yeah, that was my review for Ryuuou no Oshigoto, or the review's job is never done in English. Anyways, I'll pass it off to you, Nier.
But if it's never done, how can you finish the series?
You gotta. Well, what if they mature? Then it's done, right?
4 more seasons,
Quote-unquote
boy.
Mature, quote unquote mature.
Listen. What did you say? How old was she?
She's 9
9
years
years old.
old.
We
That's
got at
almost
least
a full
3 more
lady.
seasons left then, dude. We got at least 3.
Depends on when she matures.
Depends on if like each season is like, 1 semester or not. If it's like
First
1
lady.
semester, then we're golden,
Dark's just waiting for the kiss scene, to be quite honest. Crazy
Nah,
ass.
listen.
Waiting for the
I caught up
prison
as
scene, to be
Tenshi no
honest.
Sanpi. Let me tell you.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Yeah? Go on, tell me.
Yeah, what is
Let me
it,
tell you.
Tark?
Yeah, I thought so.
Anyways, Nier, would you like to continue on? I'm sure you'll be telling us about another lolly series.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No.
It has kids in it.
It has a child.
It has a child.
Unfortunately, it is a boy. Sorry to dash your
Freakasm.
hopes.
That's up for
Or
debate.
maybe not. But,
Oh, jeez.
yeah. I have been watching Kokkoku.
Kokkoku, yeah.
Kofuku no graffiti.
Kokkoku.
Yeah.
This is the I guess mystery thriller.
Mr. Supernatural
It's,
Thriller, yeah.
Yeah, supernatural thriller that's airing this
It's
season.
not really mystery, it's mainly just thriller from what I'm like watching it.
Yeah, it's pretty much just a thriller. But it's basically the premise is our main character is failing to get the job and she's super depressed, and then all of a sudden her brother and her
Nephew.
her nephew, yeah, they get kidnapped, and then they get a call and they're like, yeah, we want 5 million yen, and they're like, wow, that's a lot of money. And then her grandpa's like, hey, but what if I just like froze time and we could walk around, and they do that, and
but then even more bad
but then
things.
even more people show up and they can move in the frozen time too, and then they attack them for some reason, and then one of the guys tries to kill the young boy who is frozen in the frozen time, and he gets killed by this massive monster, and it's explained, or rather,
Have they? I mean, like I haven't finished the latest episode, but do they do they explain what the white line shit is?
Yeah, dude, they're specters.
yes, the white lines are specters, jellyfish, as the grandpa calls them, and essentially, they are what let people move in the frozen time. Like, you fuse yourself with the specters, and then you can move in stasis for some reason. But they haven't explained, like, where they come from or anything, obviously. So
they're
it's
just
only
kind of
episode 3.
powers, yeah.
But
They'll like slowly reveal it as more of the anime.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be some shocking mystery that will wow audiences everywhere. But yeah, the guy gets killed by this big, massive monster, and then they imply later that anybody that tries to kill somebody that's frozen, like uh, even like a murderous intent or something, this big monster will come down and it'll squish your head. But they also say that he's like shrinking, so he must be expending some sort of energy, and he doesn't have any way to replenish it. So, there's some sort of uh, story to that. But yeah, the main conflict, I guess, seems to be people that belong to this cult that worship this stone that lets the main characters move in stasis, and they seem to want it back. Apparently, they owned it once, and they want it back, and they're willing to kill the main characters to get it. And so they have to figure out how to save the main character's dad, which is being held hostage by the cult, and then they have to. The goal right now is to like rescue the dad and then move forward in time, and then freeze time again, because apparently that'll send them into like a different stasis than what the cult is in right now.
Yeah, I mean, essentially what they're trying to do is they're fighting against time. Not to make a joke of it, but it's like they're fighting against time against a cult who can use similar powers to kind of fight with the person. So they're essentially it's like a fucking Born Ultimatum thing, but like most of the bystanders are just kind of frozen in time.
Yeah,
is kind of how it works.
but in episode 3, it's there's some stuff going on where the main character apparently has the power to expel the specters that are in other people, and then they obviously, without the specters, they can't move in stasis, and so they get frozen in place.
I have a question for you, Near.
Yeah.
Remember literally like the first fucking scene of the show where that blonde lady gets that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Fuck was that?
I'm sure something will come of that. Or
it was
explain...
just meant to spook you. It's just supposed to be spooky, dude.
Yeah, just get spooked, dude.
What I kind of I kind of like sort of this bleak nature of the series just in general, like the paler palettes obviously, but also kind of stuff that's stuff is obviously happening sort of in media res, and then they're like the cult is kind of coming through the door, and now the person has to fight because it's or more like run around, but the person has to kind of find out what sort of where all the cult is hiding all this shit, right, essentially. So I kind of do like that, and I kind of like the sort of the cat and mouse game that they've immediately paced into. I kind of wish though that it didn't like episode 1 and 2 didn't go from like 0 to 60 so fast, in a sense. Like I know they had to kind of start it off and then kind of deal with the rest of the story, but I wish like it wasn't like everything happening at once. You know what I mean? It was just like, oh, the fucking family's here. Like here's powers, let's go. And then like after they get time, like rescue the people. But wait, there are more people, and then they get killed by the big monster. And it's like what? So
I don't know. I kind of like that, to be honest, because it's like kind of just throwing the main character into this like really wild situation, and then just a bunch of shit's happening, and then now you have to deal with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do like the fact that the character like has to deal with that, but it's like it's always the feeling in my mind that like that later on they're gonna essentially have to do this like long exposition. You know what I mean? Of like everything.
I mean, it's a thriller. Of course, they're gonna do long expositions. This is just the nature of the genre, but
I think the question is, will they try and give explanation of what's happening based on like science, or if they're going to do it based on just like the rules of the stasis?
I mean,
which I think they're going to do, because they've been hinting at the idea that they're not really going to give a scientific explanation with what characters have said.
When they first entered stasis, the dad was like, "Can you give me like a scientific explanation on like how objects and stuff move around in like frozen time?" And then the grandpa was like, "What are you, fucking stupid? You want me to explain science about moving in frozen time?"
Yeah.
So they're not going to give no scientific explanation.
They're essentially going to explain the parts that are barely needed later on to advance the plot. That is pretty much it.
Yeah.
Which I mean, we have seen with the shrinking of the Harbinger guy.
Yeah.
Because like one of the guys licks his hand and he's like, he's made of protein.
Yeah, I did that. That was kind of weird. It's like, what is this, sand? No, wait, it's protein. I was like, okay, sure.
I have eaten both sand and protein to be able to tell.
I can immediately tell the difference. But yeah, I mean, the premise seems really interesting. The characters don't seem brain dead, retarded, like most thriller protagonists are.
Mhm.
And the stuff they've set up in the first 3 episodes, like every time the big monster has killed one of the guys, the jellyfish have like left the dead bodies and gone into one of the main character's families, so that way they can move as well. So now you have the deadbeat gamer dude and the little kid, they can now move in frozen time, and now they're getting into shenanigans separate from the main character and the grandpa, and it's pretty interesting. Just like wondering where this is gonna go. I've seen people talking about like I personally have not read the manga, but I've seen people talking about the quality of the adaptation, and I've seen some people kind of lament that apparently they cut out a couple character interactions that while they're not like super key character building interactions, they seem like kind of those minor
They add
things that
value.
just
They add value.
they build a little bit of depth to the character that apparently they took those out. Some people unhappy with the art style because apparently the manga's a decent amount different, but I mean, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
But the series seems pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, I definitely, again, like, it's, how I always go, like, I always kind of lament the fact that if I had a little bit more time and I was able to watch these things, like I don't mind watching these things. I've always said, right, like watching stuff like Akka, watching stuff like this. I did take a look at it, and I did kind of enjoy sort of the atmosphere of it, as much as I sort of hate using that word. But yeah, I did enjoy that.
Yeah, it's definitely got quite a bit going for it, more than most thriller series do in the first 3 episodes. A lot of them usually fall flat on their faces within like episode 2, but this one's got a strong start. I haven't heard people say like, oh, the manga turns to shit or anything like that. A lot of people say it's pretty good throughout.
Yeah.
So this seems like definitely a show to keep an eye on.
One thing that I do like, although I feel like there are parts of it where it could get pretty railroady, but I mean, a decent amount of the series is already pretty railroad, and it's like they signal that, like, oh yeah, this is gonna be a fucking railroad. You're on it. You're on the fucking plot railroad right now. But what I like about it, despite the slight worry, is that they use the cult as sort of, I mean, I guess the original material used like a sort of modern cult, religious cult as a thing. And this was pretty obviously modeled after that like Japanese cult or whatever, that like big Japanese cult thing. Yeah, it was pretty obviously modeled after that, and I really like that. It's not just like some like evil like lawyer doctor company thing, and you know what I mean? It's like
some magical evil mastermind that's
just Nazi
just for
evil
some
magic.
strange reason has all these henchmen.
Yeah. But yeah, I do like that.
But yeah, this hopefully it stays good.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't get too nutty. Like, I don't mind this series getting nutty.
Well, nutty, but they have to be able to explain it somewhat within the frame that they already have. That's
like you can't you can't just have the main character shooting lasers at
you can't
her
just
eyeballs
be like,
out of nowhere.
Two monsters appear and they're like fighting or some shit. Yeah, that's not no good. That's no Gucci.
Another monster shows up and he fights the other monster, and it's like, main character's like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Grandpa's like, well, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Or talk to me about science.
Listen, he can just teleport, all right? What is he supposed to do?
Yeah, I like the explanation behind teleporting too. It's kind of just like, I just do it.
Yeah.
You just
fly
there, and then it doesn't
sure.
Sure, you guys do that. But yeah, anyways, again, any last words?
It's got a damn good OP. I'd say it's easily my OP of the season. I was just like, it's not too often that an OP like I just listen to it. Because I first listened to it just because it was on YouTube. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll check it out. And I was really, really impressed. Like just the way it syncs with the music, the visuals themselves, and the song is like it's really good. It's like holy shit.
Very solid. It's very solid for sure.
But yeah,
a lot of series, a decent amount of series this season. Yeah, kind of showed up to play.
Yeah,
sure.
But yeah, it's pretty good. It's from a studio that's like done literally nothing, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Okay. Anyways, thank you very much for helping us cover Kokkoku. I know that's definitely one of the, sort of the action series that we did want to cover this series before passing on.
I'm definitely gonna keep watching it.
Yeah, definitely. And let us know if anything super cool comes up. And last but definitely not least, Toast.
Dead.
He's dead.
Whoa! I've been working at my Death March company for over 30 hours, and I went to sleep, and then I woke up, and suddenly I'm on a podcast.
Toast.
What?
Whoa! What is this strange new world?
He's talking about Death March.
What?
Yeah, it's a strange new world where you can't fucking decide what series you want to cover.
So, are you gonna cover Last Encore?
I watched Last Encore. Fate Extra Last Encore came out maybe 9 hours ago, and it's good. I like it a lot.
But instead of that,
I got isekai to this other isekai. Because when I woke up, I was in this strange new world. Yeah.
All right.
good shit, man. Thanks.
But yeah, I watched Death March.
Okay, so you're gonna talk to us about Death March, right?
Even though I really want to talk about Last Encore,
What's
I'm
Death March, Toast?
to talk about
Don't. Okay, let me give the premise. I don't want Toast to explain it. Don't. You should have told. Asked me.
What's Death March, Toast?
Shut up.
Death March is about this guy who works at this Death March company, the Death March company, doing bug fixes for games and other stuff. And then he goes to sleep. I guess he dies. And then he wakes up. And he's like 15 years old. And he's like, oh no, my name is Satu. Because his name's Sato. But that's the character. That's the name he uses for bug testing. And then he wakes up in this strange can. And he's all like, where am I? Is this a dream? Because when I bug fix my game, sometimes I have dreams that I'm in the game, and then he's all like being attacked by a whole race of lizard people. 300.
Essentially, it's a fucking.
Oh,
Okay, look.
300 of them.
So basically, this is an isekai.
It's just an isekai rom-com harem with fucking
And then,
instead of the feudal age. Okay.
I got a question for you. If all these lizard men are level 50, how does he get to level 310 by killing them? Shouldn't the experience fall off, Toast?
Because he has combo multiplier, right? Shut up.
Good question, Dark. Because he uses his overpowered magic, Meteor Storm, that he can only cast 3 times in a lifetime. But then he uses all 3 times, and then he kills all the lizard men. And then he gets to level 310.
Wait, when could he use it 3 times in a lifetime? Doesn't he cast it like 5 fucking times and then another time after that?
It's 3
and then he disables
initial
it?
uses, but then he learns a skill. He's like, oh, I use this magic, so now I learned it.
No, he can essentially use it. No. Okay, what it is like this. He can use it, but then he like quote unquote doesn't want to use it because it expends a lot of his like mana, and B, like later on he'll learn something that makes him not want to use it. But then C, like he's like, yo, I'm a pacifist, so I don't want to use it. Blah, 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 blah.
But
So
then,
that's
but
essentially
he used it to basically annihilate the entire dragon race.
I mean,
Well, he got to
I'm
level
not saying it's
10,
a fucking
and then he gets all the sweet loot.
yeah,
And then he travels to a town and he meets some girl. He does some things, and then
yeah.
he finds his slaves, and then they fall into a dungeon. And now they're
Can you
exploring
shut?
that
Okay,
dungeon.
can we stop explaining this? Oh my god, you're
Find
so.
the slaves.
All right.
So this show's shit, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, the way Toast explained it, it sounds like garbage, and he's 60% right. But is, okay.
And okay, fine. Then he meets this one chick, but
No,
she's
shut
like,
up.
"Oh,
Shut up.
I'm a border
Can
guard.
somebody
I know
mute
magic."
Toast? I'm not. Can somebody mute Toast? Oh my god. All right. So it's essentially an isekai harem, feudal. You know, the power like creep / power fantasy happens very early on. He essentially becomes overpowered like at the very beginning.
Well,
And
that's
then-
because he killed off the entire. You would too if you got all the sweet loot.
I'm
And
not
he did.
saying there's not a story justification. I'm saying the author made him OP at the beginning.
No, he didn't. He was level 1. Don't misinform the
Stop.
people,
Yes,
Spire.
he was
Stop.
level 1 literally for 5 seconds. All right. Anyways, moving on. The point is just like the power creep happens very early on, and that he only like really powers up whenever he needs to show that he's even more OP than the current antagonist.
That's incorrect, Spire. Because
No, shut the fuck up.
there is no antagonist so far. The only antagonist so far is the demon, but he's like probably the dungeon.
I mean,
master.
later on when there are actual like real quote unquote enemies to challenge him, then he becomes slightly more stronger.
Spire, he is an upstanding individual of 29 years old that got turned into
29
a 15-year-old body, but he will only
Yeah.
use his power when necessary because
Yeah,
he
because
is a
Japanese-
Japanese
yeah,
pacifist.
that's the best part. I like how they
Wait.
explain it. And this isn't just no, okay, this is the best part. So it's like the way they explain, like, you know, it's like they're OP, but they won't use their like power like just like all the time. Is A, because of mana expenditure. That's like usually the reason in these kind of things. And B is because they're like upstanding like Nipponese pacifists or some bullshit like that, and that's why they will just, you know, like foolishly use these powers like these.
Because the
fucking isekai
last
fools.
time the Japanese used their power,
They got fucking nuked.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like that.
Do they-
It's not just Death March. It's like in a lot of other isekais, those justifications.
Do they actually specifically say Japanese pacifist?
Yes.
Oh
They're,
my
Yes.
Or they don't use like Japanese pacifists like in one phrase, but they're like, I'm a pacifist, and it must be because of my Japanese upbringing or some bullshit like that. That's like literally what they say. Yes, that's essentially my reaction. To
That
it.
being said, this series is all right in my book. It's like Smartphone, except it's more focused on the main dude and not about the girls. Unlike in Smartphone, where the main dude is boring and no one cares about him. It's all about the girls he interacts with. In Death March, it's the opposite. Because Sato does everything himself. He does all his things. The girls are just there to tag along for the ride, and they're not very. Well, that's subjective. I mean, if you like lizards, I guess this is up your alley. Sure.
You know, every single day that passes, I get more and more disappointed in Isekai.
So I mean it's not even like okay, look. So let me say something. It's not like isekai is becoming worse. It's that isekai is this like fucking shosetsu, which is essentially like, you know, like people are like fucking shosetsu, you know, like you know, they see like the light novels and anime and shit coming out of shosetsu, right? So they're like, you know, there is some writing and shit like there. But honestly, it's a pile of shit. And the
Maybe
thing
you just haven't read the good ones. Fire like Death March, because Death March is
Shut
actually
the
pretty
fuck
good.
up. Death March isn't that good. Death March is only there because it got viral and it used this like right quote unquote right sense of like, you know, harem fan service shit, and it barely fucking scraped by it. and then it became popular and it got an anime. That is it.
Fire. You could say the same thing about smartphone if you're gonna put it that
Yeah,
way.
Wow.
I'm not saying
One-
smartphone.
Imagine
is
that.
bad.
It's like
Here.
smartphone isn't very good.
It's almost like I said smartphone isn't very good either.
Imagine
Right.
a world.
But in smartphone, I don't even
Another
remember the
world.
guy's names. Toya.
I'm not saying it was good either. I don't think you saw me say it. But anyways, the point is that like
In compared to smartphone,
no, shut the
this
fuck
series.
up. Let me fucking talk about Isekai. It's like it's not it's not like it's becoming worse. It's already this like underground pile of fan fiction, gay ass porno shit, like degenerate NTR, scat, whatever the fuck, right? Some
My favorite.
ungodly
That's
bullshit.
fucked up to
My
compare
favorite-
any of those things to that, to be perfectly
My
honest with you.
favorite is when they use the word cheater in the Isekai titles. That's like that's the big buzzword.
Yeah.
I've become a cheater after learning all these skills.
Yeah. Toast is right essentially. But what I want to get at is that now because they're becoming more popular and like foreign weeps are just like, wow, fucking light novels, but they can be translated for free because they're on Shosetsu instead of being published. And then, oh wow, light novels that aren't fucking taken over by manga like Yen Press bullshit or whatever. Sweet. And now they're reading it and it's getting more views and getting more popular. And now editors are getting in on it. And now they're making anime. And now they're digging into this fucking garbage ass festering pile of just like the most degenerate, not even like, I'm not even talking about degenerate as in like genre kind of degenerate, like sexual degeneracy, although there's plenty of that shit
Do you mean literal degeneracy?
yeah, as in they just start going like shrinking into
like
filth.
Literal, as in like literature, books.
Yes,
Ah.
quite clearly. But the point is, it's just that like it's like degeneracy, as in like lack of effort. And I believe I was talking with about a part of this with Dark earlier on before the podcast, right? And you remember this conversation. It's just like where Dark was mentioning something like, it seemed to me at least, although he clarified later that wasn't really the case, where it's like, he was like, why isn't, maybe the author kind of weaning off of this? Maybe like, he's kind of like, using this mechanic, which I believe you said it was like, like game, terminology, this like UI bullshit, like skills, like item box, blah, blah. Why isn't he kind of weaning off of it if he's kind of gonna focus on this isekai like harem rom-com? And I was just like, well, you're assuming that this author is sort of choosing to balance these out, when in reality he is so lazy and he's so subconsciously like degenerate that he's just using this as a crutch. Like he's not even aware of it most of the time, and even when he is aware of it, he's just like, yeah, well, I like RPGs, and my audience also likes RPGs. So why not? I might as well just use these, right? And so he uses his vocabulary. That is literally how it goes. It's like the most fucking degenerate, lazy garbage.
my issue is more that like this motherfucker, like he doesn't even keep the world logic consistent between like fucking like but in the anime it's like within minutes it contradicts itself. Like 1 minute the guy is like everyone in the fucking world, in the game world, is talking about levels. And then the next minute the guy is like, wait, I can't take this spear out of my bag because I have a tiny bag. If I take this spear out of this bag, they're gonna freak out. And I told Spire, I guess like the best way to describe it is like, when the fuck was the last time you went?
Wait. That's why they freak out, because his bag is smaller than the spear.
Yeah,
so
he doesn't want to reveal his infinite
He's like,
storage
wait a
thing.
minute. He's like, wait a minute. Like that would freak him out. And I'm like, when was the last time you played fucking Grand Theft Auto or like Skyrim or Oblivion, and you pull a great sword out of your pocket and a character reacted to it?
No, so technically, what the author kind of sets limits on, and I'm not saying this is good. I'm saying this is what the authors do. Okay, so what the authors do technically is like very basic things like levels and like jobs and shit like that. They'll be like, yeah, the other like world people kind of know about it. Like if it's like important skills, like they know about it. Like
he doesn't want to reveal his ancient lost art of infinite storage space.
Yeah. So they'll like
In a
sometimes
lot
they'll
of
like talk about
isekai, it's one of those cheater
lost
skills
arts.
where
Yeah. So it's like identify and stuff like that. So it's like they'll maybe know about it, but most of the time they'll kind of like be sort of they'll really know is about skills and stuff like that. Like, oh, you're really good at farming, or you're really good at blah blah blah. But like the super like game related stuff again, like identify, or like what is it, like
map
like item,
search.
like map search. Yeah, exactly, Toast.
Well, see,
And
that's what I
kind of
was saying.
works.
I would enjoy this series significantly more if that was the case, where all the characters were aware of like the game mechanics in that way,
Yeah, but
Well,
the author wants it
that's when you
this way
have to
because
wait
of the
for the new
power
gate.
or
that
accepting of it, rather.
yeah that's it's like the author's sort of lazy way of putting in an initial obvious power creep, like, oh, the MC can obviously identify stuff, the MC can obviously like have infinite mana or fucking infinite storage box, or this like shadow sword of destiny or whatever it is, right? And that already puts him a level above, and he kind of spent the first few arcs kind of running around doing jack shit except macking on girls or whatever. So that's essentially the initial laziness, as I say, of the isekai authors coming out. And again, I'm not justifying any of this. I'm saying this is how sort of these authors think, and I know this because I've seen this fucking stupid ass formula repeated tens of thousands of times. As I,
Compared to most
gone through.
isekai, though, Sato is the type of character who doesn't like to reveal that he's this overpowered thing.
I mean, it doesn't matter if he reveals it or not. He still has these, and he uses them in like he's like, oh, there's a problem. Yeah, I'll use these powers.
Well, that
But
even
he does
I
so.
feel like is even worse, because there's like a scene where he goes to fight a fucking bug and he's like, "Wait, everyone stop. Hold on. We got to tactically think about this bug that's like level fucking 10." I'm like, "You're level 310 and like
Yeah,
15.
exactly.
Just fucking punch it."
That's
He
the
wants to
part where he
grow
was
his
all like, "But
slaves.
I'm a pacifist."
Yeah.
That's the I'm a pacif scene. I don't like violence.
No,
I like
no,
violence,
no,
but I'm
no.
gonna blow away this
One,
bug
one
with a
bigger.
gun.
No,
And
no,
then
no.
he looks back at his slaves and he's like,
They're not
"Oh,
his
what they're thinking."
slaves. Why do you keep
They're
calling them
like,
his slaves?
Yeah, they're technically he like they're like there's this like slave buying thing that's like super popular as like a trend in these light novels these days. But
their previous slave owner died and they're masterless, but they're calling him young master.
it's really messy. But
slaves,
the Toast, what Toast pointed out, the pacifist thing, I would like to clarify Toast point to sort of answer your question about the whole like why doesn't he just solve the problem? He's pacifist, and like what Toast said about him not wanting to fight is correct. But there's a further point than that in his like pacifist thing, which is the whole like because I'm a quiet Japanese like Nipponese person, I don't really want things to ruin my peaceful life. That thing. I'm sure Toast is familiar with this, right?
But then when the girls are like, hey, master, like we should either sneak by or attack them from behind so we can escape. And then he's all like, oh no, these girls who are like level 2 and 3 are thinking of fighting for their survival, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I have to step up.
Well, yeah,
And then he steps up.
Yeah, the anti-heroism comes in, but a lot of times the reason why he just kind of quote unquote secretly uses his OP powers is that he's like, I don't want to be disturbed. I just want to quietly like solve this problem and just go on with my life.
Why doesn't he just power level them?
What?
That's
I think he does.
If he's worried about their level, why
they're in
doesn't
his
he just
party,
power
so
level?
they're gonna get experience.
I forget if it happens in this one because it's been such a long time. Yeah, it's been such a long time.
They're in his party because he gets that party skill.
Yeah,
he's our leader.
So what happens a lot of times is like not a lot of times, but in half these isekais, that's actually a really good question here. So in half of these isekais, they'll usually be like, oh, because we were in your party, we'll power level, or they'll even have this thing where it's like they'll
Really?
have
now that I
no, or they'll like sometimes they'll even like open like I forget if it was Sukiga Michibiku, Sukiga Michibiku, or some other isekai, but they legit had like they opened like an academy where they started like power leveling like people or some shit like that, and it was pretty.
It's like here I'll do most of the damage, but you deal the finishing blows, so you get all
Yeah,
the
and then you get
EXP,
levels
that
and
kind of
shit
thing,
like that. Yeah, so there are some weird, fucked up like power leveling arcs, quote unquote, or like power leveling side stories in half these guys. So yeah, that is a good question. But
It's dumb, dude.
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
not.
Shit's fucking stupid.
The thing is, again,
It
like
sounds dumb, but the premise is
It
that
is dumb.
so
It
far,
sounds dumb, but
what I've
let me tell you.
what I've read in like the light novel and the manga, these sorts of fighting stuff is not very prevalent. It's
yeah, it's a
not
lot
the
of it's
main
soul life,
it's never been
whatever.
the main focus of this series. It's always been about like him and his daily life traveling around in his merchant in his as a merchant doing stuff, visiting other places.
Mhm.
There's a lot of downtime between we're gonna explore this dungeon and learn more about this world. That's very few and far in between. It's all about him and him interacting with his party members, going around eating food, learning new skills.
Yeah. So
And
so yeah, so it's like a lot of it's soul
yeah,
life. The in my opinion, the main issue, I mean, one of the major issues is that they try to put in a lot of these like lazy action and lazy character development slash drama kind of arcs, which usually never really work. But the point, I mean, my opinion on isekai, and I'm sure as the year goes on, I'm going to be repeating this position over and over and over, but it's quite similar to what I feel with harem series, and you guys sort of know my position on this, right? Where it's like, um, it's at the end of the day, it is a tool. I personally don't think it really has an inherent value in and of itself, but a lot of times people very much are lazy or misuse the tool. You know what I mean? They're just like, yeah, isekai, we'll just fucking mm, like just drop them off in a feudal world. Obviously, the laziest of settings to drop someone off in, right? We'll just make him, super OP at the beginning, which I don't mind too much, except when they're like, yeah, we'll make him OP, and then we'll run a whole bunch of dramatic action arcs, and I'm just like, well, what do you expect to happen? What did you expect to happen after you made him OP and then you run him into some action arcs? Like,
Yeah, but
so,
what if there's somebody more OP?
oh shit. But yeah, the problem is that there's this sort of like culture brewing. I want to say the isekai culture brewing, right? And the issue is it's a tool, and I mean it's a valid tool in a sense, right? But the capabilities of a lot of these writers that are growing up with this culture are Shoutouts writers. They're fan fiction writers. They are no better than. I mean, I don't want to say no better, but they're not. They're essentially the same as fanfiction.net people, right? So
they're like Gaia Online RPers.
yeah, essentially. So to have these people, try to harness what is essentially a world building isekai, another world building, trend, they're simply not up to the task. And then it becomes worse when people kind of latch onto it because fan service, and then it becomes an entire fucking anime, right? So that's essentially that's the problem I see going on. But anyways, yeah, eh, it's fan service, and then it kind of goes into I mean, it's okay at the beginning in terms of like the package, but then I don't know if it'll happen in the anime, but at least in the web novel, it slows down dramatically. Like it goes to like an almost screeching halt, just like the pacing. And as you guys might realize from having, if you guys have read like a light novel or web novel before, especially a web novel, often these chapters are quite short. So they're usually anywhere from like 2 to 10 pages. 10 pages is like an extreme max. Usually it's like 2 to 4, I would say, pages worth of scrolling. So yeah, it's gonna be very choppy, very episodic, and then at the end of the day, the story pacing is gonna be kind of like, yeah, this arc went on, and then they just go back to the rom com. So that's pretty much Isekai.
Which the rom-com's not very good either. So
the rom-com's not. The issue is it's like a lot of these, as I said,
I guess the comedy element comes later with a certain character.
The comedy element and the interactions become slightly better as the cast grows bigger, because at least this author does an okay job later on with making the rest of the cast interact like with each other, not just with the MC. But a lot of times these harem stories do end up falling into the spokes on a wheel tendency. And obviously, again, you guys know what I mean when I use that vocab, which is all the girls are essentially just pretty much only connected to the MC. Like their major interactions are pretty much only with the MC.
And don't forget, guys, he's 29 years old. He's not interested in little girls, as evidenced by that one scene with the little girl. So he's not attracted to them in that kind of way.
Everyone knows no Japanese male in their right minds at the age of 29 ever would be interested in these girls.
Well,
especially not one checking for radiation.
Yeah, but
nice.
But Dark, he's a Japanese pacifist, dude. So
but Dark, he's a 29-year-old man in a 15-year-old's body. How would they know the difference?
Spy. Make love, not war, my dude.
Oh Jesus. But
back to last encore. The very beginning of the episode.
No.
No.
Any last words about Death March?
Death March excels in its world building and what Sato dicks around in. It's not going to be actiony or drama-y.
I'm gonna say
I disagree.
I'm gonna say
very down to earth once you get to the real meat and potatoes of the series.
I'm gonna say your description is relatively accurate as long as you add the sort of asterisk where essentially the world building is what Sato chooses to dick around it. You know what I mean? It's like they don't really add world, like a lot of the world around him. It's more just like Sato's doing stuff. Oh, they're gonna explain it more in detail, kind of. You know what I mean? It's very limited to what he chooses to mess around in that moment. So,
I
guess
I do agree.
Remember,
the world revolves around him.
That's what happens in Isekai, my mans.
All right.
Remember, he has over 3,000 skill points. Let's watch him use
3,000.
I guess
remember,
I forgot
this
question.
This show sounds so bad that, like, I don't know how Toast can even like utter the words. This is pretty good. Like, everything you've said about this has just turned me off.
The most I can say is it's watchable.
So,
and I giggled at one part when a girl tries to explain magic.
I don't know if I could watch something like this.
But Nier, don't you want to see him use his skill points in assassination and sneaking?
I do want to point out that what you said is pretty Nier, what you said is pretty accurate in that it's a very strong appeal to a niche market.
That's me.
That is very sort of that comes out in large numbers in terms of how the anime industry works. So they kind of turn it into an anime anyways, if that makes sense. It's kind of like the fucking Trump phenomenon kind of shit. But
I was gonna say, like, my major gripe here, or not really gripe, but like I hear what Toast is saying, and like I've watched the episode, and I'm like, yeah, it's watchable. It's got some parts that are okay. It's got a lot that's not. But my major thing is like, Toast, when you say it's pretty good, it's like we're on episode like what, 4 already?
3, 4, yeah.
3 or 4, and this is gonna have only 4 if only. This is gonna have like 12 episodes. I think even if the source material is like pretty alright,
yeah,
I really don't think that this show is gonna be good. because
Yes,
of
They're-
how
they're
how
not-
it has to go.
They're not gonna get that far in like any world building or all of that in
yeah. So it's not going to be a good
12
show.
episodes.
But yeah, I agree.
But dark. But let me put it this way: it's the least. It's the most forgiving of the storm to come. That is Ari Furita.
Least
Yeah, I
stinky
mean,
shit in the pile.
yeah, I would agree with Toast. Depending on what other bigger series get come out in terms of isekai, I would say that there are maybe one or two others that are significantly better than Death March. But overall,
This is the most hopeful you're gonna get of isekai so
so
far.
far, yes, I agree. I definitely agree with Toast.
Unless we're talking Knights of Magic, because that one's really good.
Yeah,
It's not an
yeah,
isekai. We already had this discussion.
But,
That's exactly why it's pretty good.
But anyways, again, Dark. What you're saying is, you. I think I mentioned this before Death March even came out, right? Where when somebody mentions stuff like Death March, when somebody mentions stuff like smartphone, I almost like immediately ended up dismissing it because I was just like, well, there's so much content and the pacing of it is so slow, and the sort of a lot of the sort of material plot filled arcs come, quote unquote plot filled arcs come later, so that this anime is essentially going to be promotional. I think I did say that right,
Yeah,
beforehand.
definitely.
Yeah,
And I mean, I
so-
think you're also a fucking lunatic if you think that any of these series are going to be anything other than a straight adapt.
Yes,
So those lulls are going to be there for sure.
It's going to be like it should literally just say like before the title itself, it should be like promotional Death March. You are very correct on that. So yeah,
You guys like smartphone? This is
No.
better than smartphone.
Toast. I just had a big dinner and I don't want to fall out.
You guys like Log Horizon, but without as much of
No.
the game talk. This
No,
is like Log Horizon without much of the game talk.
Yuru has like a faint like no in the distance. He's like, no, can I protest? No.
You guys
I did not like it.
you guys like Sword Art Online, but with guns.
No.
Well,
It's like,
you got a gun.
No, but I'm
Like,
buying
you're
it in the
like-
You're
month.
0 for 3 right now.
Toast is
You
just
guys
Toast is like trying to sell this stuff, and you're just like in the background, like far away in the background. It's like no.
You guys like CG on par with Kimono Friends?
Stop.
No.
Well, it's slightly better than Kimono Friends CG.
You're just like protesting, but like Toast is so like selling shit. It's like, please stop.
You keep
I mean-
closing the door and fucking closing your blinds, but he keeps finding that other window.
Yeah,
You
he just,
guys
comes in from the floor. It's just like
You guys
what?
like monster girls, especially lizard girls,
Oh, crying.
I do.
Anyways, Toast.
because there's that one lizard girl, but she barely has any lizard qualities about her. It's like, hey, it's like she has really bad dry skin on
Listen,
her.
All
she's
right,
got enough,
anyways.
but the problem is that this series sucks.
Again,
I disagree. This series is definitely watchable.
All right, that was a good
Hey,
debate. Moving on.
Anyways, again, I'll put in the last word for Toast.
No, you won't.
not-
I'll
not
put in
even-
I'll last encore myself. Fire.
Yeah, go.
Death March is all right. It's all right in my book because I know I've seen the dark side of isekais, and we're gonna get some pretty dark ones later on.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with Toast in terms of the relativity thing. I would just like to add one more point. Again, essentially agreeing with Toast. We're going to get into this discussion about isekai. I think more times than we would possibly ever want. I mean, the first time is already enough, right? Like we've already had this conversation like 3 times now by now, but we're gonna have it more times, and we're gonna be able to compare. And what's going to be interesting, and what I hope we get from this is not just this repetitive talk about isekai, because we've already kind of set up what people are doing, right? What these Shoutouts authors are doing. So what I hope future discussions lead into from now on is sort of how do we amend. I'm not sure if amend is the right word, but it's like, how do we respond and how do we make this culture sort of a productive thing? How could authors make this culture a more productive thing? So I hope that is where future discussions lead to.
We throw all isekai into one world. It's going to be the isekai of isekai.
Yeah.
The Isekai expanded cinematic universe.
That's like Recreator, but in like another world essentially.
But I mean, isn't the creations and recreators an isekai of itself because they're coming to our world, which is a parallel world?
Yeah, not like this.
What would define a parallel world, an isekai anyway? Is it just a world that not of your own?
That's the question we will have to answer in another podcast. Anyways, we should move on to.
If you like smartphone, but you did not like Toya that much, you will like Satu more.
I changed the picture. You're no longer allowed to talk about this series.
Yeah. All right. Anyways, moving on to
Watch
news. Moving on to news. Quite a decent number of articles from the past 2 weeks. One, I'm just gonna go over some funny anime series that were announced because they're funny. One is Bandai Shogakukan. Shogakukan is one of the major manga / sort of animation media publishers in Japan. And Toei Animation opened a website on Monday to announce a new multimedia franchise called Pakutsuri Bar Hunter. The concept of the franchise is that the barcodes on our personal belongings all have a quote-unquote bar soul. These unknown quote-unquote bar soul life forms live in the barcode ocean. And in this world, people can use a Bakutsuri bar rod, fishing rod, to fish for and collect the bar souls using AR or augmented reality. Essentially, it's like a toy selling line for children, but it involves barcodes and fishing. Two things that I don't think modern kids do that much these days. But I guess it's a show. But that was weird. But it's a thing now. So you're fishing for barcodes. And the other one is Cells at Work. So the March issue of Kodansha's monthly shonen series magazine is revealing the main cast for the television anime adaptation of Akane Shimizu's Cells at Work. So this is about like blah blah blah. It's essentially anthropomorphizing your like the cells in the human body, and then they're like talking to each other and shit like that. And it's like it has like Maeno Tomoaki as white blood cell, Hanazawa Kana as the red blood cell, Inoue Kikuko as the macrophage, Ono Daisuke as the killer T cell, and Nagana Maria as a platelet. So it's a show that's happening. I actually want to watch it just because it's like super weird. But yeah, we'll see how that pans out. Anyways, moving on. This one is another funny piece of news. Bandai Namco, I believe, yes, Bandai Visual. The Masamiya. Okay. So Masamiya, which is like a perfume line company or something like that, or it's like a fragrance product line or beauty product line company, announced on Thursday that it filed a request for arbitration with Bandai Visual to the Tokyo Summary Court on January 17th with the intent of addressing an alleged breach of contract by Bandai Visual regarding Masamiya's Pre-Maniacs character fragrance brand. So blah blah. Yeah, so what happened essentially, the TLDR was that Masamiya, a company working in like beauty products or whatever, was working with Bandai Namco to create sort of fragrances or like perfumes for one of its like male idol like franchises, Seven, which I believe it has an anime this season, right? Yeah, I believe. This one or the last one?
Season.
Yeah, exactly. So how long? So it created a contract to like make these things, and then Bandai was just like, actually no, fuck it. And then later on, Bandai was just like, oh, we have these new perfumes now, and it looks suspiciously like the perfumes they were about to develop. So Masamiya obviously didn't like that, Masamiya didn't like that. Sued them. And then they reached an agreement, and now Bandai Visual is rescinding their products. Bandai Visual announced on Friday that it sought a speedy resolution to the matter and announced that it will cancel the product line and offer refunds to already pre-ordered. So they were essentially caught with their pants down, trying to sneak shit out. But what can you do? It's fucking Scamco. But yeah, and
Wait, is this the one with the dudes?
Yes,
So
it's one of the ones.
What do you think that? What do you think they smell like? Haha, asking for a friend.
God
That
damn
kind
it,
of
Toast.
We'll never know.
We'll never know because it's been rescinded, Toast. But yeah, if you like Idolist 7 or whatever, then
too
check
bad.
it out, I guess.
If
Yeah,
you
but
like
you'll
Idol
never
7,
smell
too
them.
bad.
What?
You'll
Why
never
believe
know
that you
what
can't
your
smell them?
favorite idol smells like.
Yeah.
Fuck this article, dude. Halfway through, it starts spelling it as Masayama.
Yeah, that's why that's why I paused for
What?
a second here.
Which is it?
I think it's Masayama.
It's Masamea?
It's Masamea. It's Masamea. Masamea is like a fucking like a sort of like trinkets like hobby good thing like creator. So it's Masamea. So that is the correct thing. Anyways,
They put
next
Masamea more times than Masayama, to be fair.
Is it like the difference between Masamune and Murasame and Muramasa?
close.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyways, next piece of news about on the voice actress front, which is some little weird pieces of news. Anime director Tatsuki of Kemono Friends posted on Twitter on Saturday a recruitment notice for 2 voice actresses on a quote-unquote probable work by his 3-person independent animation group Irodori. Applicants must send a self-introduction and, if possible, a recording of the sample dialogue listed below by January 20th. Yes, he has sent out a fucking recruitment notice for voice actors via Twitter. So,
when is Kaguya Luna going to join the cast of Kemono Friends?
God damn it! Don't say that. I don't want that sort of mean.
She's not. They're just gonna make a virtual fucking YouTube idol show, dude. Everyone knows that.
Kaguya Friends. Anyways, the second one, Japanese retail company.
Let me ask something. Did they ever fix Kaguya Luna's FPS problem?
No.
No.
Is that part of the charm?
To have higher FPS.
She also never managed to actually figure out what half the blood types of people were.
Yeah. Don't worry, it's a secret talent.
Is it supposed to be cinematic at like 5 frames a second?
Yes.
I mean, if you remember right, Kizunai had the same low FPS.
Yeah, but she's like
until she got like way more subscribers. So gotta get that YouTube money.
Yeah. Anyways,
is Kizunai the mob boss of virtual YouTubers? Or is that?
All right, we need to move on. So shut up. Japanese retail company Mari Group is collaborating with the Showroom live streaming platform for performance and idols to hold anime commercial voice actor auditions. So Showroom is like, how do I say this? It's essentially one of these like new, like smaller, like streaming stuff. But it's like, you know how it's like when you think of like smaller streaming services, like non-Twitch kind of stuff, you think of like Hitbox, you think of some other stuff that's like, you know, some like niche like gamer or niche like IRL kind of stuff. Like Showroom is essentially like all cam girls, and it's like all like these like random idols, like, you know, just fucking
like what
streaming.
kind of cam girls are we talking about?
Like, you know how it's like
the ones that show up in weird ads when you go on certain sites?
Almost, but not quite. But you know how it's like AKB48 or whatever has like a million groups or whatever. So it's like all these idols will just like stream for shit. I'm not sure if they do it for donations. Like, I'm not sure of how like a showroom system
like
works.
Twitch. I'll pull down my shirt.
But I mean,
give me 1,000 bits.
Well, I mean, it's more not flexible, but it's less known. Like Showroom is less known, so they can do like dumber IRL shit. You know what I mean? So it's like essentially that's how it works. It's supposed to be a lesser known, like a smaller service, but essentially what it is like it's a platform for cam girls. But yeah, it's collaborating.
Oh, like the showgirls when you go to E3, that kind of thing.
No, it's more just like the idols are just in their room and they're like, "Hi," and then
Like the nice old ladies who give you free samples when you go to your local supermarket.
Yeah,
What the
No, it's like the nice
fuck are
old
you
ladies
talking about?
that like
Yeah.
live stream from their home and then they give you soup.
yeah, exactly.
It's
That's
like
they
those.
give you virtual
Computer.
soup. They
Like
give
that
you
one
virtual soup.
competitive eater chick on YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, I know what you're talking about actually. But anyways,
Oh, okay,
uh,
I get it.
yeah, anyways, the winners for these auditions from Showroom will make recording for the project's animated commercials, and they may be able to participate in future anime projects. So they'll probably have a decent amount of money because it is a very big or pretty big group, the retail company Maru Group. So people will probably walk in on this just to get the money. Applicants must use Showroom to perform lines that will be distributed when the event period starts. Participants will perform as characters from Marui Group's Neko ga Kureta Marui Shiwase, or The Round Happiness a Cat Gave, net anime series that premiered in May. But yeah, good luck to the participants, I guess. Although, again,
Maui Group invested in its first television anime with Aho Girl and Surizuri Children.
Oh yeah, no, you're
okay.
right. You're right. Yeah, they ran the campaign, so they are very sort of invested for some strange reason in kind of doing these
Okay,
sorts of.
because I thought they would be like making a TV anime about clothes and fashion and apparently calico cats.
No, they're
No.
just kind of they're mainly kind of just interested in kind of spreading their name, I think, more than anything else through anime. But yeah, thanks for
But
pointing that out.
what if I want an Aho Girl T-shirt with a big banana in the center?
Just go to a Western convention and you can get a copy of a white T-shirt with that fucking spray painted over for $70.
Nice.
Anyways, moving on. This is on the awards side. A couple of awards. So some movies awarded for 41st Japan Academy Prize. This one is the I believe this is the Shaft one, right? Yeah, the Shaft one. The fireworks one. Fireworks should we see from the side of the bottom, or Uchiage Hanabi Shitaru kara miru ka, Yogo kara miru ka, has been nominated. Napping Princess, another pretty famous one, has been nominated. Mary and the Witch's Flower, Detective Conan, The Crimson Love Letter, Night is Short, Walk on Girl. I actually also want to see this quite a bit too.
I'm sorry. Where is Fate Stay Night Limited? Fate Stay Night Heaven's Field Part 1 Presage Flower?
Shut up, okay?
Where is Dark Side of Dimensions? Where is Fate Ilia Prisma?
Oh my god!
What if at the
Where
Oscars,
is
like Dark Side
Pokemon
of
movie?
Dimension?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
showed up
Dark
at,
Side
like, the
Dimension is
Oscars?
like just as worthy of an award as Yoriwa Michikazi.
It's gonna win Grammys, dude. But
I'll never
anyways.
forget the day Dark Side Dimensions fucking beat Get Out.
that will be the day, my friend. But anyways, so congratulations to them. They are only nominees.
Nerd.
Only nominees, but hopefully one of them wins.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Secretly, Love Live movie wins again. But anyways, next award thing is the judging committee of the 63rd Shogakukan, again one of the major publishers, Shogakukan Manga Awards, announced this year's winners on Monday. Each winning title will be honored with a bronze statuette and a prize of 1 million yen, about US $9,000. So again, this is one of the biggest sort of manga titles, period, like awards period. Honestly.
They win and all they get is bronze? Fuck.
Yeah, bronze statuette.
Of what? Like their character? Their manga?
Of a manga book.
Of Asuka.
Yeah,
Who
It's
knows?
just
They get a bronze statue
square.
of 1 million yen.
Of One Punch Man.
Oh, damn, dude.
Yeah.
If you collect them all, you can like fucking run through them real quick and it becomes a gift.
But yeah, best children's manga goes to Pretty Pretty Chichan by Hiromu Shizuka. Shinozuka Hiromu, who launched the manga in March 2015 and inspired an anime adaptation last April. Best shonen manga goes to The Promised Neverland by Shirai Kayu and Demizu Posca. I actually want to read this. This looks pretty cool. But anyways, launched in August 2016. Best shoujo manga, Omoi Omoare Furi Furare. I've actually heard about this, but I have not read it.
I'm sorry. I'm not interested in shoujo manga unless it's
Okay. But
with the gorilla guy, why can't I remember the name?
yeah, it's whatever.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it is okay. Anyways, Sakisaka Io. That's general manga. Kubo Ibuki. So yeah, okay.
Kubo
so
is which ship is that? That's a ship. Ibuki is a ship.
yes, it's
It's
the
a
state of
stop
world
motion
affair.
one.
Can we? Okay, can I just get through the titles? A
No.
series blah, 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 in a response to the near skirmish with China near the disputed Senkaku Islands. Senkaku is essentially a lot of Liang. I think it's called Liangshan Islands by China and Dokdo in Korean, but it's very contested for dumb reasons. Japan builds the Ibuki aircraft carrier. Best general manga is also winning best general manga is actually Koi wa Ameagari no Yoni, or also known as After the Rain, which did get an anime this season. So
We
yeah.
should talk about it.
Yeah, we should definitely try to talk about it, or watch it and talk about it soon.
It's award winning. It counts.
Yeah, just like Prison School.
Please don't start this.
Anyways, next, TAAF, or the Tokyo Anime Award Festival event, announced the winners of this year's Lifetime Achievement Award. Singer goes to Osugi Kumiko, who did songs for Doraemon, Ace of Narae, and Attack Number 1, obviously pretty big.
Nice.
Art director Kawamoto Shohei, who did Doraemon and Heidi, A Girl of the Alps. Voice actor goes to Kobayashi Kiyoshi, who did Daisuke Jigen from Lupin 3. Director goes to Shibayama Tsutomu, who did Doraemon and Chibi Maruko-chan. Director, another director award goes to Sugi Kisaburo, who did Touch, Jack Tomame no Ki, Night on the Galactic Railroad, Street Fighter 2, the animated movie.
I would have given it to Akiyuki Shinbo.
No. Animator, Suda Masami, who did Speed Racer, Fist of the North Star, and Kyokuchitsu no Kantai.
Okay, that's a good one.
Producer.
These are all old people. What the hell?
That's why it's a lifetime.
That's why it's a lifetime achievement.
It's like 20-year-old lifetime achievement. It's like, holy shit. It's like ever since he was a fetus, he worked on. But yeah, anyways, producer Takumi Yoshio, who did Galaxy Express 999. Hans Christian Andersen's The Little Mermaid, Fist of the North Star, Sakigake o Tojuku. Wow, that's a list. Scriptwriter Hoshiyami Hiroyuki, who did Osomatsu Kun, Mobile Suit Gundam, Pat Labor, The Mobile Police, Dirty Pair, pretty a solid. Sound director.
Really old.
Sound director Honda Yasunori, who did Super Dimension Fortress Macross, Do You Remember Love, Megazone 23, Record of Lodoss War, very solid. Production founder Motohashi Koichi, who did Dog of Flanders, Conan the Boy of Future, Chibi Maruko-chan, and founder of Nippon Animation. And an animation history researcher award goes to Watanabe Yasushi, who did Nihon Anime Eigashi. But yeah, congratulations to these Lifetime Achievement Award winners, and hope to see them, award, I guess.
Hope to see your next work.
Hope to see them pass on their, I guess, legacy as well in the future. I guess that's the best way to say it.
I hope they never
pass on their memes.
Yeah, pass on their memes. This one might be the most relevant, quote unquote, to most of the viewers out there, but the 11th Manga Taisho Awards. Again, Manga Taisho, very big, like one of the biggest, although it is, pretty recent, but it's still one of the biggest awards out there right now for manga artists, period. Awards nominates 12 titles, so none of them have won yet, but the executive committee nominated 12 works on Monday. The official name of the awards is Cartoon Grand Prize. So the nominees are number 1, Sugitani, or obviously this isn't reading them down the list, but Sugitani Shogo, Eigai Daisuke Pompo-san, or Pompo, the cinephile. Eizo Ken ni wa te o dasu na, by Owaru Sumito. Golden Gold by Seita Horio, or Horio Seita. Delicious in Dungeon, or Dungeon Meshi.
That still hasn't won. We've talked about that for a couple of times on this, right?
Yeah, no, I mean,
it's been nominated several times already. When's it gonna win?
I got nominated a couple of times, but yeah. I mean, there are other good manga out there. I don't know what to say.
Like what? Like what?
What the fuck are you talking?
Like
Shut
all
up,
the
Toast.
ones on this list.
Yes, shut the fuck up, Toast. Shirahama Kawame. Writing fucking Toast. Okay. Tongare Boshi no Atelier or Atelier Witch Hat. Nagi no Oitama or Nagi's Long Vacation by Konari Misato. BS Stars. Oh god, is this a furry one?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one I talked about. Nice.
I don't like it.
I don't like it.
I've read it. It's actually funny.
Furries
Yeah, I
are
mean-
people too.
Funny as in look at these furries.
Anyways, To Your Eternity.
I recommend Beastars.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'll probably check out most
No,
of
you
these
won't.
titles later.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I don't have time. But To Your Eternity, Fumetsu no Anatae by Oima Yoshitoki. Made in Abyss by Tsukushi Akihito.
New chapters when?
The Promised
When it-
Neverland. I really want to see this now because Promised
That's a
Neverland is
very
being
different
popular.
cover.
Yakusoku no Neverland by Shirai Kayu and Demizu Pushka. Runway to Warate, or Smile at the Runway by Inoya Kotoba. And finally, Waraera Contacti by Morita Rui. So the nominating committee is composed mainly of bookstore staffers who are in charge of their respective store's manga. Any title that was released in 2017 and has 8 volumes or less is eligible. Blah blah. So bookstore staffers, a lot of times they know like what's popular and what might be a cool thing to check out. But a lot of these seem pretty nice. Do check them out. Again, the major reason why I put them in the news at all is so that you guys can see these titles and kind of check them out and not get sucked up into the same like Attack on Titan kind of like mainstream kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So do check these out. Last time, stuff like Golden Kamui, I believe, won Manga Taisho, right?
Yeah,
That was pretty good.
That's an award winner. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember my award winners.
Obviously, it doesn't mean all of them are good. Sometimes stuff like Prison School wins, but most of them are pretty good. So please do check them out. Last piece of news before we move on to people stuff, or unless Toast wants to say some stuff
Hello.
afterwards. Yeah, so I'll just cover this real quick. But Nobuyuki Fukumoto's Kaiji manga is inspiring the real Kaiji GP reality program that will begin streaming on Abema TV's Abema Special Channel in April.
What?
So, Abema TV began streaming a promotional video for the show on Thursday. Contestants will participate in new challenges as well as games that originally appeared in the manga for a chance to win a monetary prize of 100 million yen, which is about $920,000.
So it's a game show.
Yeah, it's a game show
Nice.
slash like probably like some weird like fucked up like
Big Brother
gambling show, like balls down gambling show.
reality
But
TV show.
yeah, but the official website is accepting applications on Thursday from March until March 18th. Participants must be at least 18 years old. But yeah, essentially it's a game show.
You guys
with a
want to
lot of gambling.
participate? We can be the foreign kaijis.
For the gaijis.
The
But yeah.
gaijis.
The
But
guys
yeah,
that just wander the halls saying "Kuyashi."
that'd be so good if somebody lost and then they just like scroll like they just have their hands over there and so they just like the narrator comes on and it's like Kuyashi. That'd be great. I'd watch this if that happened. But yeah, seems like a very interesting reality show. Seems like a very interesting reality show, or not reality show, but game show. But what I'm interested about is how they ended up getting this much money for the for the show. I mean, I guess Kaiji makes that much money, but
You see how much money that Akagi made?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely take
Come on.
serious, but I was still surprised. But yeah, this might be a funny show. So if it gets subbed or if it comes over somewhere on YouTube, probably check it out. Might be good for a couple laughs. But yeah. Anyways, Toast, was there something you wanted to talk about in terms of news?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Or I forgot the article. Do you have it with you?
Oh my god.
What?
Why would you
Well-
not have it open?
Oh no, I found it. I found it in my closed tabs in my history. One of my looking forward to isekais is coming out. How not the summoner demon lord light novels gets TV anime.
Is this just an anime announcement? Oh my god, Toast.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. All right, we're moving on.
Also, Dragon Ball Super's ending in March. That too.
Thank you, Toast. 3 pieces of people news. All of them are kind of grim, but whatever. First one is Ariyasu Momoka, who is a Momotaro Clover Z member, and this is Momotaro Clover Z. If you guys don't know, is like one of the biggest like female idol groups in Japan. Like I'm not even kidding, they're like top 5 in terms of like money earned and stuff like that. Like they're one of the people that like you know how like people are like wow, like you know like dumb people are like wow, idols earn like you know all this money and they're famous. Like they're the ones that actually do that. Like out of like all of the idol groups that like that actually exist. So they're big, but yeah, she announced that she will graduate from the group after a scheduled concert on January 21st. In her message, the 22-year-old singer mentioned that she has been with the group for 8 years, but for 8 years, she was 14.
That's a long fucking time. Holy shit.
She was 14 when she joined them? What the fuck? But anyways, excuse me.
She's a baba now.
Yeah, Baba. But now has decided to distance herself from the entertainment business and pursue a quote-unquote normal woman's life. She thanked their fellow unit members as well as her fans for understanding her decision. So yeah, again, I don't. This obviously nobody blames her for like leaving or anything like that, but this obviously speaks to.
I do. She betrayed me.
Yeah, she betrayed me. I'm gonna burn all of all the merchandise I have about her. Blah blah blah. But yeah, this obviously speaks to the state of the industry, right? Where it's like, this girl isn't like, you know, in some like random shit ass idol group, you know, earning like not even potatoes, like bean sprouts, like to eat and stuff like that. It's like she's in a top 5 group in Japan. She is actually making bank through her shit, and you know she had to give it up because she was probably too stressed out. You know, she didn't want to live this life. She didn't want to be, you know, I guess like deified, you know,
or she
like
wants to actually be in a relationship.
yeah, she wants to actually, you know, look at a boy without, you know, getting death threats the next day, right? That sort of stuff. So definitely understandable.
I don't believe it. How
There,
my
yeah.
my little sister can't be as cute as this idol.
What the
Yeah.
fuck?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, it is very unfortunate. You know, this again, little piece of news, but it does speak to the state of the industry, as do a lot of other, you know, pieces of news. Next is Komuro Tetsuya. So, musician and composer Komuro Tetsuya held a press conference on Friday to issue a public apology while also announcing that he will retire from the music and entertainment industry. He said that the retirement is his quote-unquote way of drawing the line in light of public uproar. The Shunkan Bunshun magazine had published allegations of Komuro cheating on his wife Keiko with another woman on Thursday. In the press conference, he apologized to his wife, family, fans, staff, and to many other people. Blah, blah. But yeah, anyways, he was also charged with fraud in 2008, found guilty in 2009, and given a suspended sentence of 3 years in prison. Blah blah. But yeah, he was.
So he's a stand-up guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you, guy.
He's composed songs for artists to perform for such anime as Nurse Angel, Ririka, Pretty Rhythm Rainbow Live, and certain Scientific Railgun S. Blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, you know, this guy has been up to trouble before. What kind of annoys me is that, you know, like people like him are getting. I mean, obviously having an affair is not good. Like period. But he's like every time like an uproar like this happens, right? It's always about adultery, right? And like if there's some sort of like forced, you know, like the idol stuff, right? It's like, you know, the underground, like, you know, forced sex kind of stuff, or, you know, prostitution, or, you know, underage, whatever, stuff like that. A lot of times that like, you know, like whatever, probably a lot more like severe sexual harassment than we imagine it to be, right? Like that stuff goes on. That stuff a lot of times gets swept under the rug, which is kind of what annoys me here. Where it's like they're like, oh, he cheated on another. Like it's like, yeah, but there's also like 1 million other things you swept under the rug, Japan. So let's get on with that too. Huh?
Like that Kenshin guy.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I still
porn.
like it.
Anyways, yeah, but you're too old for Kenshin, so anyways.
Damn.
Anyways, last piece of people news is writer Ursula K. Le Guin passed away on Monday in her home in Portland, Oregon, at the age of 88. According to her son, Theo Downs Le Guin, she had been in poor health for several months. So again, she was the inspiration for many sort of more modern science fiction writers, as well as she helped sort of in literary circles. You'll find that she sort of helped also found this subgenre called like magic realism in a sense.
Like Isekai?
No.
Like Fate?
No.
Are you sure? Because they have a magic system set in modern times in Fate.
It's hard to describe what magic is.
Guilty Crown?
No.
Hautsukai no Yome?
That's about the closest you would get to something like the magic realism that Le Guin's, but with maybe like a stronger moral lesson. But essentially,
Creators?
No. But anyways, it is very unfortunate that she passed away. Please, send our condolences to her family and friends and stuff like that. But yeah, it is very unfortunate that such a sort of a literary founder in a sense did pass away. So yeah. Anyways, that is the news for this week. And with that, we are finally on to the shoutouts and callouts. The shoutouts, again, as per usual, is one thing that you would like to praise, utter to the heavens, best thing since sliced bread, whatever. And it can be one thing, person, place, whatever. But it can only be one thing per person. Call out is the exact opposite. Rant, blah, blah, blah. -1 out of 10, etc. But it can be one thing or person or body of water or whatever it is you want to be. And I guess, here, why don't you start off?
Every time.
All right. You're still going first, actually.
Wow.
I wanted to switch over to somebody else, but I was too lazy for that.
Shoutouts to Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter came out like, what was it, 2 days ago? Yeah, something like that. Pretty good. It is a fun game. I like Monster Hunter.
What's your favorite monster, Nier?
My favorite monster is Barioth.
I hate Barioth. He's too fast. Whenever I fight him with Lance, so I have to switch to a faster weapon.
Maybe you're just too slow.
That's why I switched to a faster weapon.
I had a call out, but I don't remember what it was. So, call outs to, fuck, I don't know.
What's your least favorite monster?
Probably like fucking, I don't know, Giganox. That thing's pretty annoying. But
that's like,
I don't know. I had a call out and it was pretty good, but I can't remember it.
Okay, we'll come back to it later. Yeah. I guess I'll go next. Shout outs to EVO Japan, because it's been a pretty good tournament, and it's setting up. As a Korean, I also feel kind of good because it's setting up a tournament scene for Koreans to come over and grow their scene without having to pay a single dime for the tourneys. It's a good shit right there. We're essentially eating off of them, so that's nice. And also, people over there are getting freed up in the Tekken tournament right now. So, anyways, my call out is something pretty recent. It was some people who were just there were a lot of tier fucking 2.5 tier 3 visual novels that were translated or released recently, and a lot of these, if you are familiar with sort of how VN works and how the VN market works, it's essentially just it's usually 3 kind of tiers where it's you have the top 60 to 100 hour fucking visual novels with wide ranging plots and all these random routes, good ends that aren't so obvious, all these things, right? Like fucking top of the line audio visuals. You have those tier ones, and then you have the ones that have pretty good UI and like pretty standard stories, but overall pretty nice touch. And those are kind of like tier 1.5, tier 2 kind of stuff. And then it kind of like all drops down to shit from there, right? Where it's just like you kind of just have the garbage, right? And then there are these like people who are like, this thing has like no voice acting. Like this thing, I've gone through like 8 routes, and I just kind of dropped it because I wasn't impressed with what was going on. I'm just like, you realize like this is essentially like how the market works, because not because like they're like, oh, we want to make a shitty game, but it's essentially because like they don't have fucking money for shit, right? Like a lot of these tier 2, tier 3 people don't have money to do anything. So it's kind of to be expected. And like a lot of these games still manage to have like okay art and like sometimes voice acting and stuff like that. But I'm just like a lot of these comments seem pretty obviously like influenced by this sort of like recent output of visual novels, especially on Steam, of these sort of like what I would say mid-range visual novels, where it's like a lot of them are just like kind of these fucking Western Python visual novel engine, like poor English, like Kickstarter backed, like half-ass bullshit, right? Where it's just like it has some kind of okay voice acting, but for the most part, it's just like, yeah, we're just selling this like mid or short to medium length story for like $20 on Steam, so you might as well just take it. And everybody's just kind of getting very influenced by that and setting up this very shitty middle ground where it's like you can't expect these really shitty visual novels in Japan to reach that middle ground because they don't have the same platforms, they don't have the same sort of resources, right? But then a lot of times people kind of just eat those like shitty mid-range, it's like Sakura or whatever, like Sakura Ninjas or Sakura New Year or Sakura Autism or whatever.
Hey, Spire, do you want a coupon for Sakura Gamer? I got it. I can get it to you for $2.50.
Fuck you. So all these like games up, and they think that's the shit. Like that's how visual game or visual novels are. When there's so much better shit out there. So Steam and like all these people who are just eating it up, eating this fucking mediocre garbage up, are just setting themselves up to create this shitty market for visual novels in the West, and it's really bothering me. So call it to these motherfuckers. Anyways, Dark. Shout out to Callouts, please.
I got like a multifaceted shout out because I was gonna shout out Monster Hunter as well.
So many complex stuffs too.
So shout out to this season for having a lot of cozy, fun stuff that we haven't gotten into yet, and a lot of good stuff, and not much bad stuff. But also shout out to Spire for I guess upping my faith in Tenchi no Sanpi and making me watch it again because it's actually pretty good.
Hey, hey, when I don't spit the truth, like I will tell you. I always leave a disclaimer beforehand, unless I'm like trying to like do like surprise butt sex with like lolly shit. But other than that, I usually leave a disclaimer like, yeah, this shit is pretty degenerate. But Tenchi no Sanpi was surprising. It was not my anime of the year 2017, but it was pleasantly surprising in a sense.
But yeah.
But anyways,
so that's pretty cool. And I guess my call out is gonna be to oh fuck, what is my call out gonna be to I don't know, man. I don't know. Toast for fucking both not making up his mind on what he's gonna cover until like 5 minutes before we started. And then even then really. But then also him making me stream. Cause that sucked too. That was a fucking pain in the ass. I didn't realize I didn't have any of it set up on this computer, so.
I gave you like 2 hours notice.
Yeah, but I was playing Monster Hunter, so like it didn't matter. What am I supposed to do with 2 hours notice
Don't matter.
when I gotta hunt monsters?
Anyways, Toast. Shout out to Callouts, please.
Here, you got your call out yet?
Yeah. I was gonna call out people that form their opinions based on other people's opinions without actually experiencing like what the subject is for themselves. Because I've been seeing a lot of discussions about the recent hit new anime, Darling in the Franxx, and I'll probably talk about it next episode. But there's a lot of opinions going on about that show.
All I want to know,
And,
okay, I know this is gonna be
I
a
have my own.
subject because you know my opinions on these sorts of series, and obviously we differ a little bit. But all I need to know is that does it go as whack as Guilty Crown?
It goes in a completely different direction, honestly.
Okay, that's as long as it doesn't go in the same like retard whack direction as Guilty Crown, I'm already willing to watch it more.
I mean, it's going in a whack direction. It's just going in a different whack direction than Guilty Crown did.
Yeah.
But what I was gonna say is, so Darling in the Franxx is a very sexual show. It's one of its like main, I guess, vehicles for driving home its theme is sexual implications and innuendos, and a lot of people are judging the quality of the story and the writing and the characters and just everything based on the idea that the show uses sex in a like any sort of literary tool, like just the sheer presence of sex immediately makes the show worse somehow.
Devalues.
It's like Kill la Kill, except with robots. That's what I've heard.
It's like the whole like obviously like hentai authors don't put in as much effort like 99 times out of 10, but it's like that doesn't exclude H manga or like doujin or people from having what I mean, like an action story kind of thing.
I mean, yeah, but my main call out is the people that are like, hey, like what's this show like? What's this show about? And then somebody gives like a basic like synopsis of like the story, and then people, okay, like how do the mechs work? And then they describe the sexual implications and the theme that the show is going with, and then they go, oh, okay, no thanks. And it's like, there's 3 episodes out. Like that's not that much time. You can go watch it yourself, and like you can decide on something, especially for a show like Darling in the Franxx, where it's like it's a big show. Like you have Trigger and A1 working together.
Yep.
There's a lot of money going behind this. It's basically like it's basically a passion project between pretty much everybody that was at old 9X.
So what I'll say is, again, I haven't watched it yet, and I will judge it when I do end up watching it / skimming through it. But it's like, even if, let's say you watch like 10 seconds of it and you like immediately hate it, reason for that, it's like I think it would behoove everybody to at least muster through enough of it to gain a sort of more thorough picture.
Yeah,
even if they differ with it,
like form an opinion on something before you just decide.
I mean, like
up.
it's like I hated Recreators, like and Dark did also, but it's like we still kind of mustered through it because as a thing that came out as a huge project, it deserved at least like a run through to see why people were investing so much into it.
Yeah, like I don't want to go into my opinions on Darling in the Franxx. I'll do that.
Yeah,
I'll do that later. But I just wanted to call out the people that like, they hear one aspect of something that is much bigger,
Mhm.
and they just go, yeah, no thanks.
Kill
Yeah,
a Kill
oh,
is
very
really
understand.
stupid, dude. Because let me tell you something about
Because
that.
those
Like, she's
outfits,
wearing
those
skimpy
outfits.
outfits. Like, that's fucking dumb, dude. That's so
But
fucking
dude,
stupid.
she's going really fast, so it's not
So
an
it doesn't
issue.
matter. Yeah.
Oh shit, you're right. God damn it.
When the memes collide. But yeah, thank you very much for pointing that out. I'm sure it'll become a pretty hot topic pretty soon, especially since, again, as you said, it is one of the bigger series of this season, bar none.
I don't like Dark Souls, but I heard Monster Hunter is the Jurassic Park of Dark Souls, so I'm not interested in Monster Hunter.
Please stop.
Sorry, I'm like joking. But anyways, with that, I think we're done with the shoutouts and callouts here.
Toast do his?
Oh, Toast, did you do yours?
No.
You're
Yes.
like, yeah, and then you
No, I
skipped.
didn't.
No,
No,
what?
he didn't.
I didn't do it.
You asked him to
Okay.
do his, and he said, "Near, do you have your call out?"
Yeah, okay. He passed it on to Nier. Okay.
Go.
Okay.
I want to play
Great.
Monster Hunter.
My shout out is to Fate Extra Last Encore. You're pretty cool, my dude. Your opening is pretty fire. Automatically in my top 3 openings this season, alongside Pop Team Epic and Sakura Clear Card.
Okay.
Is Emiya-san out?
Yes, it is. That opening's actually pretty good too. But
Yeah, it is pretty good.
on top 4.
Okay, call.
Call out.
Yeah?
Is to. Hold on, I wrote this down.
Okay.
This one coupon game that I got. For a coupon game that cost me $2.50, I have over now 25 hours in it in post game. Why? Why would you do this to me?
Wait, what are you calling on? Wait,
My call out's still to Toast, by the way.
I'm so confused, Toast. Anyways,
I'll say it again. This one coupon game that I bought for $2.50 instead of the usual $15.
You just wasted money on that because you didn't like it?
No, I do like it. I got 20.
Okay.
I out of my usual coupon games, I maybe get 4 to 10 hour 4 hours average.
But isn't this your call out?
Yeah.
Yeah, he hates it. He hates that he enjoys it.
It's
Yo,
too much.
So
It's
his
too
call
much
out, his
time.
call out
dude.
is his call out is actually to himself.
This is so. What is this episode? Oh my god, Toast.
It's
Toast has like gone so far on the spectrum that he's like made me grow extra
I
chromosomes
think
just by
you're
like this.
reading way too much Isekai, Toast.
Alright. Yeah, wait. So I don't even want to resolve this, but why are you calling it out?
because I have 25 hours in it and I'm not done yet.
Okay. So you're like, man, I got stuck on this game or whatever, and I
I'm
didn't
not
expect
stuck. I'm grinding materials to create.
Is it
this
Bukaki
weapon.
Range or whatever?
That's not 25 hours. That's like 2 to 4.
How would I know? I haven't played through it that
When's
much.
Bukake Ranch gonna be on Steam?
Oh God.
I can get you.
No,
a
it's gonna be
coupon.
it's gonna be on Steam, but it's gonna be all ages. It has it's patched somewhere else.
It's actually like 10 minutes long.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, thank you for your call.
My real call out is to
Please don't do this.
the long wait that I have to wait until
Last
Fate-
encore and
Fate-
stuff.
Fate Extra Heaven's Field Part 2 Lost Butterfly.
All right.
Fate Stay Night Heaven's Field Part 2.
Yes, I'm sure they know what you're talking about, Toast. Thank you, Toast, for your call out. And with that, we are done with the shout outs.
Okay.
We are done with the shout outs and call outs and with the rest of the show. Thank you again to all the viewers out there and all the listeners listening to our recorded podcast. If you do like what we do, we stream this every other Saturday starting from 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on twitch.tv/4PlayerAnimecast. That's with the number 4, where we talk about the latest and greatest in Japanese animation media, including anime, manga, light novels, web novels, visual novels, and all the rest. And again, very busy winter season, 2018 season. We're going to be going through a lot of stuff, so catch us on the fly, and hit us up with whatever series we might not have covered yet that you might want us to review, and we'll be sure to take a look at that pretty soon. But yeah, check us out here. Check us out on our social media: Facebook, 4PlayerAnimecast, Twitter, our handle at 4PBAnimeCast. Again, all with number 4. And as also on our website, 4PlayerAnimecast.moe, where we all have all of our content and Twitch, YouTube, and MP3 files. I do have the last podcast updated in Twitch and YouTube. I just need to have them on MP3. But as soon as they're uploaded on MP3, they'll be available on both iTunes and Google Play, so you can listen to them on the go. So yeah, we'll take that. And next week, we're gonna, regardless of whatever we choose, we're gonna have some pretty big titles. So
I thought we were doing Violet Evergarden.
As I said, we're gonna have some pretty big titles.
Little known show, Violet Evergarden. I think it's made by like 3 people. I'm pretty sure that's what the Kimono Friends guy put out for. I'm gonna be honest with you.
I'm actually putting my my face in my head. Anyways, yes. We're gonna be covering some big series next podcast, so please do look out for that. If you have to listen to any podcast for this season, it's probably going to be the next one. So please check that out. And yeah, that'll be it. And as always, see you next time.